The Galaxy Watch Active 2 came out 1 month ago, and in the first month, there was a lot of noise and a lot of excitement surrounding this new smartwatch. There were a lot of very positive reviews for the great specs, the innovative features, and the fact that this is a very powerful sequel to the Watch Active 1 and strong competitor to any other smartwatch in 2019. But now that it's been 1 month, it's time to set the spec sheets aside and really see how this watch performs under daily use. Now, I've been wearing this watch every single day since it came out, and I found a lot of things that weren't mentioned in the original reviews. And in this video, I want to share with you what I found to be the most annoying features and the most positive features that you might not notice when you first put the watch on. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mike O'Brien, and like I said, this video is all about the Galaxy Watch Active 2, which I've been wearing for the past month. So 1 month later, what is this watch like? So I want to start off with some changes that happened since it first came out. Now, when it first came out, there were some complaints, including some from myself, that the touch bezel was not on by default. They updated, now it is on by default, so the touch bezel is always on, unless you go into settings and turn it off. And then secondly, the GPS was very inaccurate. I think it was just a bug, a software issue when they first released the watch, and now they've updated that and the watch GPS is very accurate. So when I'm running in standalone mode with this and I have, my phone's not around, I'm just running, I actually ran like an organized 5K just because I thought that was a very accurate way to measure my run. And it's supposed to be 3.1 miles, and at the end it came out to 3.08, which I would say is definitely accurate enough for my purposes. One thing that I'm disappointed about that didn't happen since they released it, there's still no ECG. So this is supposed to have an electrocardiogram. It's equipped with the hardware required for that. Samsung said when they released it that it would be coming soon. It's still not out, it's been a month, so I don't know if when they say soon, they mean like within the next year or in the next couple months. I'm not really sure what the timeline looks like for that, but it's not out yet. Next, I want to talk about some general pros and cons here. Now, I don't want to sound too complainy because overall, I really do like this watch. This is probably my favorite smartwatch I've worn in 2019, actually ever for that matter. And so, but one of the complaints though that I had was this is a fitness watch and it's, very important that it functions well when you're working out. And one kind of strange little caveat is when you're going for a run, like the lift to wake feature, if you have that on, is really, really inconsistent. So you're running and sometimes you're lifting your wrist and you have to flip your wrist like 10 times until you can see it. And then other times, even when it does turn on, or if you press the button to turn it on, it's not registering the orientation of your wrist and it'll like turn the screen off within like a half a second, so you can't even see it. So sometimes I have had issues when I'm running with looking at the watch. Okay, so the next category I want to talk about is exercise. I think that's a really important one that I wish I had more time to cover in my original video. So I do want to do a little bit of testing on this with rep tracking. So if you are working out with a fitness watch like the Active 2 here, you'd assume that it would be very good at working, through your exercises, tracking your reps, doing whatever you're trying to do. So I want to test that out and see how well that really works. So the first workout I wanted to track was curls. That seemed like a very easy one and a very obvious one that somebody might want to do. Now I found that after curling several times in a hammer curl style, it was not tracking any of them and it was missing every single time. But if I rotated my wrist 90 degrees, then it was tracking every single one consistently. So I found that with many of these other workouts as well, you really have to figure out exactly the orientation it wants to be in, and you can't really alter your workout. You have to do exactly what it thinks you're going to do. So because of that, you are limited on what kind of workouts you can do. Of course, you can also not track things like pull-ups or push-ups where your hands or wrists do not move. I found that other workouts such as squatting or benching, they tracked very well. And then sit-ups on the other hand was one that, again, because my hands were in the wrong orientation at first, it was not tracking correctly, but as soon as I fixed that, it was tracking perfectly on every single rep. Another great feature about this watch that I really like is the fact that you can take screenshots. It's something that I didn't think I would use, but I actually use it a lot. We've all been there when you're driving, you hear a song you like, you want to save it, and rather than messing around with my phone when I'm driving, I'll just tap the home button and swipe across my watch. It'll take a screenshot, and then later I can go back and see what that song was. A quick little aside, if you're new here and have not yet subscribed, make sure you go down and click the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss the latest videos. The battery in this watch is not super impressive, but it's definitely not disappointing. It lasts 2 days consistently, a little bit more than 2 days actually, so I can get about 2.25 days out of this, but I always just charge it when it gets to like 18 or 19% after 2 days. And so I think that's good enough for me. When you charge it, it takes about an hour and a half. And one big plus is actually that you can charge it on the back of your phone if you have a Galaxy phone or any kind of reverse wireless charging phone. And on top of that, you can also charge it if you get the Samsung wireless battery pack. So Samsung has a little battery pack that they sent with anyone who pre-ordered this watch, which is actually really nice because you can charge your phone and you can charge this watch. So I just bring that whenever I travel, keep it in my backpack. And it's nice just to keep my watch going a little bit longer. Some pros with this watch, I think comfort is a huge one for me because wearing this watch nonstop, you want to make sure that it's comfortable. After wearing it for a month, I found that I can easily wear it for days at a time. Like I said, I charge it every other day, but that's only off for like an hour and a half. I never have any comfort issues with this at all. Even if I put it into like time only mode and it lasted for, like a week or something, I still don't have a problem with it being on my wrist. It's light, it's comfortable. If you're sweating, it doesn't feel weird. It's just a really good material, and I'm very impressed with Samsung's design of this with regards to comfort. It's also very light, very slim. It doesn't get stuck on your clothing when you're putting sleeves on or anything. And I really like this. This one right here is the 40 millimeter, by the way. There's also a 44 millimeter. So another small con with this is when you're showering, hot water, touchscreen, it makes sense. You're gonna have accidental touches unless you turn on underwater mode. I shower in the morning and I'm usually not that awake when I'm in the shower, so I usually don't remember to turn on underwater mode with this. So just a small drawback there. You might be sending text when you're showering and not even realizing it. But I haven't really had too much of an issue with that. I usually remember now after it's been about a month and I start to remember to turn that on every day in the morning and turn it off after the shower, or you could just take it off and not wear this in the shower. Another great option there. A pro for this watch is absolutely the screen. I was impressed when it came out and I'm still very impressed now. If I'm in the brightest setting, the brightest day, it's not even remotely difficult to see this watch. So the screen is extremely bright and very vibrant, very colorful, very easy to see in bright daylight. And then in very dim settings, you can turn it down and it's extremely dim, not a problem at all. So I really like the range of brightness on this screen. So one more topic in the general category right here before we get into the apps for this is actually Bixby. So I think Bixby is something that when it came out, I was, everyone kind of thinks like, oh, cool, you put Bixby on it. But it was actually pretty impressive when it first came out on this watch, because I think Bixby's been going through some upgrades and it was nice to have it on here, and it still is nice. I like not having to navigate through for things like a timer. So I could just tell it, hey, set a timer. And that's something that I think is a useful feature to have on this watch. You can also use it and it works very well for like the weather and a few other things, but there are a few things that it does not really work well for, the less common commands. So if I want to send a text to a specific person, if I say the name, it really struggles with finding contacts for some reason. I don't know why it does, but if I just say text my mom, it'll bring up Brian or someone else, like someone totally unrelated. And I'm like, Bixby, how did you think that was my mom? Hi, Bixby. Start a run. So getting into apps for this watch, that's where you start to really get into the Wild West. There are not a lot of app developers for smartwatches right now, and so Samsung watches are no exception really. There are not a ton of apps out there. The Samsung ones are great and they integrate really well, and there are a couple other apps out there that do work, so you can get maps on here, but it's not perfect, of course. You have a small round screen. I don't really use maps on this watch much. So talking about the interface and the apps of this watch, I want to talk about the touch bezel right now as a really important feature or a key feature of this watch when it came out. Everyone was really excited. I was really excited. Thought it was a really amazing innovation on Samsung's part to make a touch bezel, nothing moving. Really nice to have that. But I thought, you know what? Hey, maybe after a month, maybe I won't really use it that much. Maybe it was a cool feature, but not really important or necessary. That's not true. It definitely is something that I use every single day. And I noticed this especially yesterday when I put on the One, so the Watch Active 1. I wore that just for the day for, I don't know, whatever reason, just to wear it. And I kept trying to spin around on the bezel, and I realized, you know what, this is actually a feature that is a very big differentiation between the two. I talked about this in my original video, but the watch faces on this do not disappoint, and I really do like having them, so I do like changing it up every now and then. It's almost like getting a new watch when you just have a different watch face on. You can match different things for what you're wearing as far as clothing goes. I have used that many times. If you're dressing up for a more formal occasion, you can take a picture of what you're wearing. You can put that picture on your watch, and it's not going to show up like a picture of you. It's going to take the colors out of the picture, of course, and it's going to make a really nice design and make the watch just look really cool and match exactly what you're wearing. There's also other ones that look like analog watches. There's some that make ticking sounds so they feel like analog watches. You know, there's just tons of different options for watch faces for this that really are kind of unparalleled. I really like it. And then one last thing that's really nice about this watch, many watches have sedentary reminders, but I like that this one pops up and tells you, hey, you've been sitting for too long, and then it gives you a couple different exercises that I think are really well thought out for when you would be sedentary, which for most people is probably when you're working. You're at a desk all day, you're sitting down, you don't have space to do like jumping jacks, and you're gonna look like a total fool if you're doing jumping jacks in the office. So the exercises they give you are kind of more discreet. So say you can do like torso twists, or they give you the option for upward stretch, both of which you see people do all the time anyway, that's not weird. And then the third one is squatting, which can be a little bit strange if people see you squatting, but if you're in like a cubicle and you have semi-high walls, then people aren't going to see you do that. So 3 cool exercises right there that I think were well thought out. It tracks them and tells you how many to do every hour, and it just makes sure that you feel great, you're more awake, and you're a little bit healthier. So guys, that is my update after 1 month of wearing the Galaxy Watch Active 2. If you want to see more about this watch, I recommend checking out my original review, which is much more in-depth and really covers all of the specs and the features of this watch. Honestly, they speak for themselves quite a bit. I think this is a very, very impressive watch, and I'm really happy that I bought it. I would recommend it to most of my friends, especially if you have a Samsung phone. Although there are many other watches out there, I will be reviewing more. If you're interested, make sure you click the subscribe button and the bell icon. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.